Thank you, Mr. President. I do accept the yield.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, everywhere we go, throughout our districts, throughout our state, whether we're in the grocery store or at the movie theater, all we hear about is, what are you doing in Hartford? We need a new direction, a change in the state of Connecticut. It's at the top of everybody's lips right now. And for good reason, because since 2008, 2010, during the Great Recession, we lost a lot of jobs. So did our neighboring states. In fact, it was nationwide. However, since then, the state of Massachusetts has recovered 300% of its jobs. New Hampshire, that does not have a state income tax, has recovered nearly 200% of its jobs, and all of the other states around us, nearly 100%, except for Connecticut. We're barely over 70%. We have not recovered the jobs of a recession that was nearly a whole decade ago. In addition, our unemployment rate is going up rather than down. It just recently rose from 4.8 to 4.9%. Our neighboring states, Massachusetts, their unemployment rate is 2.3%. New Hampshire, 2.3%. And not to be outdone, even New York and all of the other states in New England are substantially less, as is the national average. People are upset. Many are downright frightened. And too many tell us that they're being forced out to a state that they love. And just recently, I received an email from someone that said, "Oh my gosh, you've given us hope. We've just read that you're proposing an alternative. It sounds like the right direction to go in." But sure, there are some things in this budget that even that we're proposing it, we're supporting it, we're going to vote for it, we're going to encourage our colleagues to support for it. There's things in there that we don't like to see cut. There's things in here that I care a great deal about. But unfortunately, over the last 8 years, when we've proposed alternatives, instead of listening to those proposals, the state has decided to kick the can down the road because it just simply didn't believe that things could get worse. And of course they did. When you propose 77 new taxes on everything, lots of new brackets, then of course it's going to take a few years, but boy, people will start making plans to leave. That's why in the very beginning of all those new taxes, you actually saw an increase in tax revenues. But now, a few years later, it's gone precipitously lower, and we all know that it's the highest taxpayers. That $600 million of taxes has now been reduced to nearly $240 million. That's a huge drop. It's attacking the very people that pay the most. And it continues. That rhetoric continues to this very day. In fact, we're getting all kinds of emails right now, 10 at a time from the same person, talking about how they're concerned about the possible budget that we're bringing out. Let me tell you, even though there are things in here that I don't want to see cut, that I really care about, the reason that I'm supporting it is because it actually funds the things that are at the top of the pyramid of priorities. Education funding, special education funding, funds for transportation. It actually secures those funds. Particularly, it certainly does not require municipalities, our towns, to assume any costs associated with the teacher's retirement. How many of us have heard from our towns and cities about that one issue that would topple their very well crafted and negotiated budgets, that take them from balancing their budget to being anywhere from $2 to $5 million in the hole overnight? This budget funds transportation, and by the way, without tolls, without a mileage-driven tax. It also doesn't allow municipalities to tax local hospitals and preserves the small hospital pool. And one of the areas that I really care a great deal about, and you all do too as well, and those are our disabled population, the ones that need day care and employment services for those individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And one of the other areas is care for kids. That is really an important area because it allows those on the lowest income to be able to actually work, make a living, to take care of their children. As I said, Mr. President, I'm going to be voting for this budget. I encourage my colleagues to do so as well, to really begin to move Connecticut in a new direction, something that everyone in Connecticut is seeking. Thank you, Mr. President.